Hi students, today what we're going to talk about is women in the Persian Empire. This forms part of the syllabus dot point of roles and status of women, both royal and non-royal. Before starting this lecture, what you should do is you should go back to our previous lecture on workers and just do a little bit of quick revision on female workers in the Persian Empire, because we're going to be covering that again today. Before you get started, what you should do is this quick reflection activity. I want you to write down 3 thoughts or ideas, what you already know about the topic, any questions or curiosities or puzzles that you have, and then one analogy, maybe reflecting back on what we did last year on ancient Greek and ancient Roman women. Here's some key terminology that we're going to be used throughout the presentation. I recommend that you should write down a couple of key ones, being that of duxes, okay, princesses, as well as the different Elamite translations for king's mother, king's wife, and chief consort. A key one down there is the Old Persian for concubine, harik, which is hasn't been confirmed as the particular word. So concubines are sometimes referred as palakai, which is the Greek translation. So women's lives in Persian Empire are defined through their connection to men. We see the family tree of Darius. Okay, this is him here, and the different wives that he had over the course of his reign. Most importantly, is probably Atossa, okay, because she is the mother of Xerxes. But we know that already that Persian kings have polygamous relationships, okay, as well as concubines as well. So you can see the different women who were connected to Darius. Unfortunately, a lot of the sources that we do have on women are fairly limited. We don't have a huge amount of written record on a female woman, and what we do know about them is maybe referred to, through their connection to men. Women, again, we have to rely on a lot of Greek and Roman sources. So we have Plutarch here, describing the way in which Persians, treat their women, and the kind of very protective nature that they have over them, and the way in which they're kind of secluded and cut off from the rest of society. Again, we do have this absence of women amongst sources. Evidence that we do have, maybe administrative documents, tablets, does give us a brief outline of the social and economic status, although we do have to do a lot of sort of implicit interpretation of those sources in order to get a clear idea of what their role in society was. So we're going to start by looking at royal women and their role. Royal women did have the one, very few people have close connection with the king, and women, of the court are definitely one of them. They enjoyed economic independence and were able to travel in their own right. We've got sources that say they joined the king's entourage, accompanied the king on campaigns and even possibly on hunts. We have sources that suggest that women were trained in archery and spear throwing. The king's wife could be present at royal ordinances, but archaeological evidence does reveal that they also had their own council, and that's just what we really see clearly in this seal impression of a woman, potentially the queen, enthroned, with a receiving someone, as well as her cupbearer there as well. You can see again Plutarch, another Greek source which we have to rely on, saying that their lawful wives sit beside them during dinner and eat with them. But when the king wants to divert themselves and indulge in drinking, they send them away, have the music girls and concubines come, and they're quite right to do so, as in this way they do not involve their wedded wives in the debaucheries and drunkenness. So again, we have that very clear view of the sort of somewhat foreign nature of Persian women and kind of the exotic court lifestyle of these women. Their status, they were able to own land and estates. They employed their own workforce, and also appears that they did held administrative officials that were assigned to them. An example is Edabama, okay, who's from the court of Darius. We're not sure what actually her role is. You can see her, her responsibilities and her status, okay, as implied from that. She has her own workforce. She has her own seal. She makes transactions, okay, with officials. They're assigned to her particular group of people and her estate. And she also used her seal to authorize transactions and ration payments for her workforce. So this is a woman who actually has a huge amount of power within the Persian Empire. The women's bodies, okay, were buried according to their status, okay, and like the king's wife's body had to be turned to Persis, okay, to the Persian homeland. It's an important element, okay, so they kind of have similar customs, okay, than that of the king as well. Is another example of Artisone, which is the daughter of Cyrus and the wife of Darius, issuing goods from her estate around the empire. So at Meridu and then at Kunaka, her issuing wine to different parts and moving, having that economic independence to move rations and foodstuffs, okay, across their estates. Their responsibilities, women, again, like a lot of other ancient societies, were used as marital tools, okay, central to domestic relations, okay, used to affirm political alliances and confirm peace treaties. And most importantly, Darius uses it as a real tool for to legitimize his ascension. His marriage to Atossa is integral because she is the daughter of Cyrus, who has that link with Achaemenes, the original Achaemenid king. And as a result, okay, what Darius also does is in order to secure his throne, he also marries his two closest allies, and helping him to secure the throne. He married daughters of both nobles, while themselves were married to the sisters of Darius, and respective offspring also intermarried, forming that close connection between satraps, between generals, and daughters were also used to secure territory. As Xerxes' daughter Amenius was married to the satrap of Megabyzus of Babylon, okay, whose father was killed when they revolted in 482 BCE. So again, we see potential areas where the Persian kings can be attacked from, okay, revolting satraps with a history of sort of independence being put under the thumb and secured through the use of marriage. That's very important in terms of how women were able to become powerful. Atossa here, we actually have no Persian evidence of her existence. It's only through Greek accounts that we actually know that she actually existed. All right, so moving on to concubines, we do have sources that suggest that even though these women are used for sex and entertainment, that they're actually quite well regarded within the Persian court. The clear difference between royal women and that of concubines is that women who are concubines are from non-Persian descent and therefore excluded from marrying the king, and the children that they do bear could not succeed to the throne because of their non-Persian background. Again, the lavishness and the decadence of the Persian court is evident in the sheer number of concubines that we have attested, approximately between 300 to 360. And although there is no sort of special harem or a place in which these women can, gather, this does appear in later sources after Darius and Xerxes' time. We have Asinius again, who says that 300 women guard him. They sleep all day in order to be awake at night. They sing, they play the harp, they entertain while the lamps burn, and the king takes pleasure with them often. And we do have sources which attest to this interaction between the Persian queen and the concubines. So again, Asinius, concubines have to treat the royal wife with reverence and obstinance. Okay, have to deep respect for the queen. Female workers. This is where, and very interesting, we see great difference and almost to the point of equality between men and women in the Persian Empire. And this is a key difference to other ancient societies. So despite not having sort of royal officers within the administration, they are involved in religious ceremonies and they are attested as laborers alongside men and children. Frequent workers were headed by supervisors, okay, called Aresa Pasabina, okay, and with regards to only one or two other exceptions, these women have the highest monthly ration among the labor force. Again, the most highly paid people in the labor force are women, these supervisors. And these supervisors are known to the administration, and their personal names are written on tablets, again, sort of reaffirming their importance and their value and their status within Persian society. We also have special workforces of just women themselves, which are gathered from a variety of different professions called Parsap, again, the villages of Persis and Fahalan. Women who were labourers, they did receive 1/3 less food than men, and this is reflected in the ration scales. For skilled labour and men, okay, when we're either given equal rations, okay, according to their level of qualification. So we see, even though we do see differences in gender at the very low end of the status, okay, we see equality in terms of skill being equally, remunerated for their labour. We've already looked at this in terms of workers as mothers of newborn babies were given extra rations, with mothers of boys receiving twice the amount of food, okay, than mothers of baby girls, okay. So, and we do see an even balance between male and female births, suggesting that we don't have, infanticide was not practiced. They don't want only boys, okay. There's an equal sort of balanced approach to both boys and girls, and again we see the wealth of these female supervisors evident in Elamat tablets. Okay, you can see here that 31 sheep and 7 portions were issued as rations to women and supervisors of this female workforce. A total of 5 women, their names are listed, and this is for a grand total of 19 months. They receive for a year, okay, each sheep. So again, we see lots of equality in this female workforce and in this system, and even despite in royal women not having sort of political, necessarily a political role, they are still important within the political system, marriage and intermarriage between satraps and between other domestic governors. So now that you've completed your reflection at the beginning, I want you to complete a new reflection. You need to write down 3 thoughts or new ideas that you have, 2 questions, 1 analogy, and then I want you to come up with your own explanation, a bridge between them. How do your new response connect to your initial responses? And we're going to share this when we get back to class on Wednesday. Thank you.